Welcome everybody. My name's Sam. I'm the head of community and events here at TechTree. Welcome to our first Code in Canada event. This event really is an opportunity for you to hear directly from engineers at 3 different tech companies in Canada. It's the first in a series, and we're really excited to bring the opportunity to you today. Our event is actually in partnership with 2 great partners. We have today joining us Global Talent Accelerator, who are experts in helping people from all over the world access opportunities in Canada and in Canadian businesses, as well as Calgary Economic Development. So CED are leaders in innovation for contributing to the wider business ecosystem in Canada, in Calgary as well. Today's event really, though, is a big focus on hearing from 3 different companies today, or engineers from 3 different companies. So first up, we have LODGELINK, who are an end-to-end solution for workplace travel. We also have ALBERTA, who are supporting businesses with applied AI, as well as Xeris, who are an official AWS partner supporting businesses with some complex technical issues. So today's event really is a chance to hear about some of these technical challenges at these companies, find out a bit more about their technical processes, but also it's a chance for you to interact directly with the speakers. So what we want to do, we want to really encourage you to ask your questions directly in the chat here on the stage. We'll pick out 5 minutes and a couple of questions from the audience to ask each of the engineers. So really, next step is to welcome Sean Longdo on stage, who is the founder and CEO of GTA, and he's going to tell you in way more detail a bit more about what they do. So I think we can welcome up Sean now. There we go.
Hi, thanks. And I appreciate everyone coming to this event. It's fantastic because in Canada, I've built 4 tech companies before starting Global Talent Accelerator. And the reason I started Global Talent Accelerator is because every time I started a tech company, the issue, oops, am I doing share video? Yep. The issue has been the ability to attract talent in a country that is very geographically diverse, very widespread, and it doesn't have a large population. So the only way to hire talent was to steal talent from other companies that were also trying to grow. And that's really a zero-sum game. So I started Global Talent Accelerator to bring people from other parts of the world and bring net new talent into the company, as well as a greater diversity of ways of thinking and experiences. So I'm really happy that you're coming to see these companies that are from Calgary, which are great companies to work with. And I want to talk a bit about Calgary without taking any away from the next presentation, because I've built tech companies in all 4 major cities of Canada: Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, and most recently in Calgary. And Calgary, I would say, among all of them, is probably the best place to build a company because the costs of operations and the tax rates are much lower. You're in an environment, as Leslie, I'm sure will tell you shortly, where you're surrounded by mountains and you've got beautiful wilderness around you, so a very affordable and great lifestyle. But it also is a city that is filled with innovation and large companies that are willing to pay for innovation. So there are opportunities to build a business and grow with a customer base already there that's thriving and looking for innovation. And they're great people. One of the greatest things about Calgary are the people. They're always willing to help. It's that Western prairie mindset of everyone's in this together and let's help everybody out. So it's a great starting point for us to launch the Code in Canada series, where we're going to showcase cities across the country. But I think Calgary is the best place to start, and I look forward to hearing more about Calgary and specifically the 3 companies that have joined us today. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the show, and look forward to following up with you after the show if you want. Thanks, and have a great day.
Great, thank you, Sean. That's great, and you make some of us over in the UK very jealous talking about how nice Calgary is. Cool. So thank you very much, Sean. You can step off the stage now, and I'm now going to welcome up Leslie Shire from Calgary Economic Development, who's going to tell us a little bit more about what they do, as well as touch on Calgary, as well as Nicholas Nunes, who's also joined the stage, who I think has got a great little presentation to tell you a bit more. So thank you, guys. I'll leave it to you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon or good evening, depending on what part of the world you're joining us from. We're thrilled to be here to have an opportunity to speak with you about Calgary and the diversification of our economy. My name is Leslie Shire. I'm Director of the Client Excellence with Calgary Economic Development, and I'm in the area of talent attraction. I'm joined here today with my colleague Nicholas Nunes, our talent specialist. Also joining us are the three great companies previously mentioned, Alta ML, LODGELINK, and Xeris. But before they speak, we'd like to provide a quick snapshot of Calgary, Alberta. So we see Calgary as the city of choice for the world's best entrepreneurs. These are people who embrace advanced technology to solve the world's greatest challenges, including cleaner energy, safe and secure food, the improved movement of goods and people, and increasingly so, better health solutions. Talent, innovation, place, and business environment are four key pillars to our economic strategy titled Calgary and the New Economy. Note, Alberta is forecasted to spend $20 billion through 2024 on digital transformation, and Calgary companies are primed to lead a big portion of this change. You can see here how digital transformation transcends all sectors: energy, agribusiness, logistics, life sciences, creative industries, financial services, and manufacturing.
Here we can see a quick snapshot that highlights some of the organizations that are involved in our growing innovation ecosystem. You can see from accelerators and incubators to venture capital and all levels of government. We work together in a collaborative way to support the brilliant ideas and companies that are building scalable solutions right here in Calgary. And part of why Calgary is such an exciting place for tech and business is because we are an HQ center. We have 118 headquarters right here in Calgary, making it the highest concentration of head offices in Canada per capita. So part of why Calgary is such an exciting place for tech and business is because we are an HQ center. So we have 118 headquarters right here in Calgary, making it the highest concentration of head offices in Canada per capita. So that means decision makers and decisions are made here. And in addition, we have the connectivity required to connect globally. So Calgary is located in Western Canada, and you can see on the map here, and we are considered an inland distribution hub. Our airport has flights going to 140 destinations around the world, with more than 85 direct routes to Asia, Europe, and the Americas. And this is important for both business and personal and leisure travel.
Here are 8 of our key sectors. These are, of course, not all the sectors in Calgary, but these are the ones that we believe Calgary has a right to win, in meaning that we have the knowledge, the people, the expertise, and the ability to succeed in these areas.
Agribusiness has always been a strong foundational industry in the prairies, long before the emergence of the oil and gas boom. So we continue to be a powerhouse, and this industry is transforming the way it operates to remain competitive in the new economy. And now with technology, companies are looking to improve the safety and the security of food we eat through the use of data science. So for example, Smart Farms is using technology not only to improve productivity and efficiency, but also to create a more responsible and sustainable way of operating.
Energy in all its forms are a big part of our economy. We have some of Canada's best wind, solar, bioenergy, and geothermal resources and operations. This sector is deploying a significant amount of spend towards digital transformation to reduce emissions and develop cleaner and renewable energy. Calgary has been ranked one of the world's top 15 clean tech ecosystems, meaning if you're passionate about moving the needle on climate change and being a part of the energy transition, Calgary is a great place to do that.
Life sciences. The University of Calgary here has become one of Canada's top research universities. So within the last 2 years, they've created a life sciences innovation hub that is working as an accelerator to get new research to market. Just in 2019, companies in this sector were able to raise over $1 billion in funding for the work that they're doing.
Within the transportation and logistics sector, we saw a lot of growth in the e-commerce sector. So Calgary is experiencing increased demand due to e-commerce requirements and just-in-case leasing by retailers and consumer good companies.
Aerospace and defense. This is also quite a robust sector here, with many companies at different stages of the value chain, from training to manufacturing to support. And the unique thing about Calgary is that our city is a living lab, meaning that these companies can run lots of tests in real-world environments that a lot of other jurisdictions have restrictions on. So as an example, even NASA was recently here in our city doing some testing at one of our sites.
Financial services and technology is a strong sector in Calgary due to the heavy concentration of capital-intensive companies. It's natural that these companies are also making strides into blockchain, cryptocurrency, payment technology, and personal finance technology. Even during pandemic times, we've seen significant investment into the fintech sector, including a $1 billion investment by a UK private equity firm into a local Calgary company, launching them into unicorn status.
In interactive digital media, this is one of the emerging sectors here in Calgary. We have focus areas in AR, VR, immersive tech services, game development, and advanced technology hardware. In fact, 70% of interactive digital media's companies here reported expected growth within the next 6 months. We even have firms that provide support, funding, and expertise needed for new gaming ventures to successfully build and launch their projects here over the next 5 years.
In creative industries, we focus on Hollywood feature films, both Canadian and international production companies, and streamlining services like Netflix. Calgary offers the required infrastructure in our film center, award-winning crews and talent, and a competitive business environment, beautiful natural landscapes.
Calgary is also a hub for artificial intelligence and machine learning. AMI, the Alberta Machine Intelligence Learning Institute, is one of the top 5 AI and ML research institutes. They have 20 researchers and fellows where they collaborate with businesses to push the boundaries of AI and ML applications. Alta ML, which is here today, their creation of applied data science internships in Calgary are accelerating AI and ML skills through hands-on paid mentored work experience. And I'm sure they will expand much more on this topic.
The province of Alberta is quickly becoming a leader in quantum computing. The University of Calgary, Alberta Innovates, and Quantum Alberta are all making huge strides in this area. The world's fastest and most efficient supercomputers were developed by University of Alberta computing scientists. The 2 supercomputers are made up of 4,000 nodes each.
And on top of all this exciting industry disrupting work, we certainly also offer a world-class quality of life. So when you want to consider where you want to work and live, is safety your top concern? Is it cost of living? Maybe it's the amount of time you're going to spend in traffic. So looking at this comparison against some other North American markets, you can clearly see the advantages of living in Calgary. In terms of affordability in Calgary, when you factor in our cost of living, home prices, low taxes, and only a 5% sales tax, Calgary far outranks other cities within Canada, like Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal. And on average, our house prices in Calgary is around $400,000. So this cost in a world-class international city is pretty attractive. For this price point, you can expect a single-family house with a garage and a fenced yard in a nice, safe neighborhood. So yeah, you can see that your money goes a long way in Calgary. We like to show this funny little graphic with the different sizes and houses.
Calgary has been ranked the most livable city in the Northern Hemisphere and 5th in the world. We get perfect scores in stability, healthcare, education, and infrastructure. It truly offers a great quality of life. Did you know that Calgary is a very diverse population? We speak over 120 languages, and we've welcomed people from 150 different countries. Calgary leads our nation in the number of volunteer hours, and it's also a very friendly city. People here are always willing to help their neighbors and support the community. Arts and culture is really big in our city too. So let's talk about your free time. Do you enjoy hiking or biking, skiing or snowboarding? We have provincial parks right in our city, and we have the largest bike pathway system in North America. We have the Rocky Mountains right in our backyard, a 1-hour drive. Do you enjoy sunshine? We get on average 333 days of sunshine every single year.
So if what we have shown you today excites you, Calgary is the choice for smart people like yourselves who can embrace advanced technology and create solutions for some of the world's greatest challenges. If that's you, we think you would love it here, and we would love to have you.
Now we'd like to show you a short video. It's called This is Calgary, and we hope it inspires you to choose Calgary as your next home.
I know a place that's as tough as it is compassionate, a place with an unwavering work ethic and immeasurable heart. Quality's woven into the fabric of this city and its people. You see it in the day-to-day moments and the moments it's needed most. This place is Calgary, Alberta, a future-proof city, diverse in culture and diverse in economy. You might know it for its oil, farming, the Red Mile, or the greatest outdoor show on earth. But you'd only be scratching the surface. Calgary is a whole lot more. Anything is possible here. See, if you've got a dream and you're willing to do the work, Calgary has your back. The proof is in the people, the entrepreneurs that built this city, the innovators, risk takers, and artists. The proof is in the work they've done and keep on doing. It's in the culture they've created that keeps on inspiring. It's in the tech, energy, and life sciences sectors where cutting-edge, industry-disrupting work is being done every day. The proof is in our small businesses, a lot of them not so small anymore. This is the most livable city in all of North America, and one of the most livable cities on the planet. 5th, actually, but who's counting? So what's that mean? It means clocking out at 5 and being in the mountains for 6. It's a short commute that's easy or fun or breathtaking. Calgary is a city with a proud heritage and a limitless future. And if you want to be a part of all this, part of something big, something special, that time is right now. And we'd be happy to have you. Be part of the energy.
Thank you.
So now we have the three different tech companies that are going to be contributing to today's event. First up, we have Kola Adebayo, who's going to be joining us from LodgeLink. He should be speaking about GraphQL and type safety for a reliable and stable application. So Kola, over to you. Looking forward to your talk, and good luck. Thanks.
Thanks, Samuel. Hi, everyone. So glad to be with all of you here. I'm just going to share my screen right now. Okay, awesome. So hi again, my name is Kola Adebayo, and I work with LodgeLink as a senior full stack developer. And today I'm going to be speaking briefly about the company LodgeLink, and also I will be speaking about some of the challenges that we are facing while trying to solve certain problems, and how we also go about tackling those challenges with technology. So this, in a nutshell, are the main points that I'm going to be speaking about. I'm going to be talking about LodgeLink and what we do. I'll speak briefly about our journey so far, the technology stack that we use in development, a little bit of problem solving with technology, and then I'm going to be wrapping up with what is a day in the life of a LodgeLink developer like. So about me, this is a very brief introduction. In case you want to get in touch with me, maybe sometime after this event or whatnot, you can always reach out to me via my email, kadebayo@lodgelink.com. As you can see, I've been with the company since 2019 here in Calgary. So what's LodgeLink about and what do we do? Now, LodgeLink, it's a one-stop shop for workforce travel solutions. If I was to summarize, I would say it's basically a platform where we aggregate the data from hotels and lodges, and then we use technology to make it possible for our clients to access and book these properties seamlessly, and also give them a very efficient way in terms of how we go about billing these customers. So that's primarily what we do. And there's three things of note that I think I'd really like to share in terms of some of the things that makes us to stand out. Now, first is that we have a very fast, customizable property search. The type of, we're a B2B, and so we recognize that when our customers are trying to search for certain properties, they need to be able to drill down to the very finest details in terms of how they do their search and how they actually get property results. So we make sure that we have a very efficient property search on our platform that we constantly maintain and upgrade so that they can have the best experience. Another thing that makes us stand out is that we have a very customer-centered booking flow. If you've ever been to any other hotels, a regular hotels website, you'd notice that it's just, okay, you go there, you select maybe a number of rooms, how long you want to stay there, and then that's it. But in dealing with our customers and from taking feedback from our customers over time, we've been able to really build out a booking flow that is really meant to address the needs of our clients. So everything from them being able to load crew list data, for example, when they're trying to make a booking, we make sure that they have all those types of features available to them. And we also recognize the fact that for some of our customers, they even have subcontractors, right, who are working for them and who also need our platform. So we make sure that we take all these needs into account and make all this very, very easy for them to do. A third thing that really makes us stand out as well are the reporting features that we provide for our customers. So again, being B2B, we work with a lot of businesses that would really like to get insight into how they're spending their money and the data from there as well. So that's another thing that really makes us unique in terms of what we offer. Now, LodgeLink was established in 2017. And since that time, the progress has been amazing. We now have more than 300,000 beds aggregated on the platform that's ready and available for our customers to book at any point in time. And we also have close to 1,000 customers currently on our platform. So that has been a pretty amazing step and journey all the way from 2017 till now. So that's a little bit about the company generally. And now I'm going to go into some of the technology that powers our application. So the full stack is what we have here on the screen. Our front end is primarily Next.js and React. Next.js, obviously, because of its unique server-rendered and SEO capabilities, and React being a modern front-end library of choice that we really love to work with. And our backend, we make use of popular technologies, so Node, TypeScript, GraphQL. GraphQL being the technology that I'm going to speak a little bit further about today in terms of speaking on how it helps us address some unique challenges. So this is the full stack that our developers use day to day. So what are some of the problems that a company such as ours has? So first, certain data and application needs. Okay, so when you think of the data entities that we deal with on a day-to-day, or the data models that represent the objects that we use in our application. So everything that defines the customers, to the properties, to the activities that they implement on the platform, we need very highly structured relational data to be able to accomplish what we need to do. So that's a unique data need that we have. And there's several of these entities that have very complex sort of properties within them, right? That's another need that we have as well. Another need that we have is we need to be able to rely on data as it travels from one part of the application to the other. So if you think about it, if data is originating from point A and going to point B or point C, we need to be sure that that data isn't changing. We need to be able to trust that there's going to be that consistency as well. That's another need that we have. Another need we have as well is when you think about the fact that there is the possibility of multiple type of front ends for our customers to use. So web on mobile and also mobile app as well. You'd agree that it's necessary for us to be able to have some type of very simplistic way of querying data and being able to rely on the data that comes back to us on whatever type of platform. And in solving some of these problems, GraphQL has really helped us out because it has helped us to tackle the problem of type safety and relying on the types that we have flowing through the application. So if I have a type computer, right, I should be able to trust in the fact that type computer and its properties is going to be the same from point A to point B. So GraphQL really helps us solve this problem by being able to really define data in a really intentional way, right? That's some of the things that GraphQL helps you to do. And so to demonstrate that and to demonstrate how this really helps in the developer experience and how it also helps us in building out the application, I'm just going to go through just a few slides here. So for the sake of some of us who haven't maybe worked with GraphQL or who have heard of it, but are not entirely sure how it works and what it does, I'm just going to briefly speak about it. Now, this is a simple Express server right here that is set up. Nothing special, but if you look closely, you'd see that it's actually integrated with a GraphQL server as well. So we have an Express server and a GraphQL server working hand in hand. Now, two things I'd like you to pay attention to are two things we pass to our server. First is a resolvers object, and the other is a type definitions object. So obviously, what I'm speaking about is GraphQL and type safety. So type definitions is something that we obviously need to touch on. Now, in any GraphQL application, you need your starting point for the application is essentially defining your type definitions. So we have this little application here that is really meant to create and power a rocket, right? We're meant to be able to create and launch a rocket right here. So what are some of the things that we would consider as data types for this type of application? So we would consider that, okay, a rocket needs to be powered by a fuel, whether solid or liquid. And then we will need to, at its basic, define what a rocket is meant to have as its properties, right? Also, in terms of creating or launching a rocket, we want to be able to define what are the things that we need to pass as arguments, right, when we want to perform these operations. So all of these things, which you could otherwise just not really care too much about defining, GraphQL forces you to define it from the very beginning or from the very start. And so what that means is that in our application, in everything that we build, we're able to, or we have to follow this process, okay? And so I will go ahead to show you how this then translates or benefits the bigger picture of our application via this example that we're looking at. So we've defined a few types here. And again, another thing that might be strange to anyone who hasn't used GraphQL is you'd see that we have a query and mutation object here. That's just GraphQL's version of saying if you need something, there needs to be an equivalent query that's going to give you that data. And if you need to create something, there needs to be a corresponding mutation that's going to create that data for you. And that's basically what we're defining here. But this isn't a GraphQL course, so I'm not going to go into that too much. Now, when we define this data this way, the next thing is how do we go ahead to use this data within our application? And it's very easy. With by adding a YAML file that's 5 lines in length, we can actually then generate TypeScript types. Obviously, TypeScript is one of the technologies that I spoke about that we use in our stack. And by adding a simple configuration file like this codegen.yaml file, we're then actually able to generate types for our application, which we can then import, which we can then import into our business logic. All right, so the process I'm showing here is to a large extent very similar, right, to the workflow that we use on a day-to-day in how we're creating our application. So again, back to the topic, GraphQL type safety stable application. We started by defining data types. We then went on to make sure that we had a tool that generated those data types for us in a way that's usable within regular TypeScript. So great developer experience. And then we've gone on to be able to import these data types, right, within our business logic. And then we can pretty much use this within any of the functions that we are creating. So all of these types that you see being imported here, you can see how they play a huge part in our application, in how we're making sure that if at any point in time, any data at all does not match what we want it to be, we are easily informed, we are easily notified, we get compile time errors, right? Instead of having that happen at runtime. So this is just some of the things that we make use of day to day, and this is how GraphQL really helps us. Now it doesn't end there. GraphQL is self-documenting. So what that means is that for any developer that's coming on board, so as part of our onboarding process at LodgeLink, after taking, whether it's a developer that's previously familiar with GraphQL or not, after taking them through some of the basics, it's really easy for developers to understand the flow of the application by looking at the GraphQL Playground, which is a self-documented app that you can essentially get access to via the browser. So we created a few things here within our type definitions. We created 3 methods, right? And in creating this, we're essentially defining method signatures. So the name of the method, the input type, and what it's going to return. And so here, we actually immediately get all of that self-documentation as things that we are able to go and inspect and see how to use them. So we defined, for instance, a query that's meant to return data to us called getRockets as an example. And we can immediately see here that this is a query that's existing and is going to return to us an array of rockets. And we can see what the type of a rocket is going to be. So we simply efficiently query that data, we get results back. And for every other resolver that you define, whether it's a query resolver or whether it's a mutation resolver, you can easily get access to all of that here within your playground. And also in terms of error checking, right? So this is how you can immediately see. In this particular case, I have intentionally put a wrong argument here, because in our array of rockets, rocket 1 is actually meant to use a liquid fuel, not a solid fuel, but we pass it solid, and here we get the error back. So this is just one of the very basic ways in which this technology, GraphQL, in which it helps us. A number of you might be maybe more familiar with using a REST API, or how you query data using a REST API. But our decisions to use GraphQL for our particular use case, it has been one that has been very, very beneficial. It's a choice that we do not regret at all, and we're forever going to love it. So to wrap that up, I'm just going to speak briefly now about what a day in the life of a LodgeLink developer looks like. So there's 3 major things I'm going to touch on. First, you get a chance to work on some really interesting tasks. We have a regular sprint cycle. What that means is that you frequently get user stories and tasks assigned to you. Will always be challenging, will push you. It will build your skill set, build your competency as well. A second point as well is that aside from you building out new features, you'll also be providing some level of support for the code that you build. And so that kind of like gives you a good maintenance kind of experience in terms of maintaining your code, which also goes along in making sure that you are a test-oriented kind of person. So making sure that unit testing is a key part of application development. And then last but not least is obviously collaboration. There's lots of talented developers that I am personally very proud to work with. And you really get to collaborate with these guys, get to really see things from their perspective, from their point of view. And yeah, so that in a nutshell is LodgeLink, about our technology and some of the problems we're solving. So like I said, I'm happy to take questions within the chat. And if you also want to reach out personally, you can also do so by reaching out to me via my email. So thank you all again for your time.
Great. Thank you so much, Kola. No, that's a really great presentation. Guys, if anybody has any questions, be sure to drop them in the chat and we can pull them out. We'll stick around for a couple of minutes just to see if any do come through. But yeah, Kola, that's a really interesting talk. And thank you so much for going into that actual day in the life of, what it's like to be a LodgeLink developer. I think we have one question here from Dima. Is there a code part you call GraphQL query from the pages get initial prompts? I believe he's asking.
Okay, so I believe what he's asking is in the area of front-end development, right? So I didn't touch too much for the, due to time constraint, I didn't touch too much on how we would use GraphQL specifically on the front end. But just to cover the question, we make use of the Apollo clients within the React application, and we're also able to use that very well with some of the very latest React features. So think React hooks. Apollo client provides hooks as well. So on the front end, if you're a REST-oriented person, you might be used to using Redux as a technology, having your reducers to trigger your actions. In GraphQL, it's a little bit different because instead we're able to use things like use query and use mutation hooks. So those are some of the things that we are able to use on the front end together with these backends that we've built. But if you need some more specifics to the question, again, you can reach out to me directly within the platform or send me an email. It's always good to chat code.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, thank you so much. And
sure.
just to highlight, guys, you can actually message Kola individually on Hopin. You can even jump into, I think, live meetings if you did want to sort of carry on the conversation. So I really encourage you to do that. You can search for people by going to event and looking at people in the attendee list there. Kola, thank you so much. You can leave the stage, and I'll get ready to welcome our next speaker. So next up, we have Taylor Arnett, who is the Director of Software Development at ALBERTA. He's going to be telling us a little bit more about how they're building and deploying machine learning solutions to improve case law discovery. So looking forward to hearing it. Taylor, over to you.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Samuel. Before I jump right into this, I need to give you guys a little bit of a background in Calgary. So in July, there's a 2-week period called Stampede, and if you're moving to Calgary, then there's going to be about a 2-week period where you're going to be seeing people in cowboy hats. So to prepare you for that, I figured I'd do the rest of the presentation in my very own cowboy hat. And with that, I'll jump right in. So I'm with ALBERTA. Today, I'm going to be talking about building how we build and deploy ML applications, and specifically how we've done this with case law. So my name is Taylor Arnett. I direct the software development at ALBERTA. And what ALBERTA is it's really this, it's a company that has a lot of different initiatives. I touched on earlier, we have this applied AI lab. We also have sort of a solutions part of the business, but in all, the whole purpose of ALBERTA is to apply artificial intelligence to elevate human potential. And elevate is a really key word here. So we focus on industries and opportunities where we think that applying ML can actually benefit humanity. Now, again, like I said, ALBERTA's business is a little bit unique, and especially how we generate opportunities. The most well-known part of ALBERTA is our services department. We come across hundreds of ML use cases across various industries with really big partners. And we do that through our client engagements. Another part of LTML, which is going to be kind of the focus of this talk, is an area we call product, and that's where we commercialize these opportunities and focus on products. So I'm a part of the product team, and my role and responsibility is really on the technical execution of growing these ML ventures. So again, just a little bit more on the product here. We have all of our venture opportunities go through this pipeline, and across this pipeline, we have various teams that are engaged across this at each stage. So earlier on, we might have venture analysts, product managers, and designers really just assessing the commercial viability, and even just what kind of like the prototypes of what these products could be. We try and get client feedback. We do some customer discovery, really make sure that this is something worth working on. And then from there, as that graduates closer to the alpha stage, that's when we really start bringing in more technical staff. So we also assign a venture lead who kind of acts as the mini CEO of this venture. And this is where the data scientists and software developers will really start to build the product and hopefully release an MVP. So for the rest of the talk, I wanted to, I know this talk is supposed to be technical, so I wanted to actually pick an example of something that we're currently building right now. And this venture that we're working on is in the legal space, particularly within case law. Just so everyone here has context, case law in Canada, it's an ever evolving field. There's new judicial decisions that constantly evolve and change how the law impacts, or how law impacts modern life. So case law research is integral to understanding and practicing law, and finding the right case to, win your point as a litigator, but also try and find justice in the court system changes how the court operates in the future. So, something might go to the Supreme Court and get overturned, and that becomes a binding precedent for all other layers in the law across Canada. So understanding and researching law is extremely important. So, well, we think, and researching law right now with the standard tools, it's a lot like finding a needle in the haystack. There's a lot of cases to go through, and the tools to do that aren't great. So we think that machine learning, and specifically natural language processing, as well as modern software design and tooling, can really enable litigators and legal researchers to perform case law research a lot faster and a lot more thoroughly. And for this product, we're focusing on delivering this value through three main buckets here. So we have semantic searching, case law analytics, and workflow tooling. So to jump into each of these a little bit, right now, researchers, how they perform case law research is really just through keyword search. And as they want to get more specific, they have to do really, really exact Boolean operations. And all of this is an attempt to surface really relevant cases that might be relevant, that pertain to their research or their target case that they're working on. But we think that using NLP, we can generate a language model where these researchers can actually search using, the phrases, general ideas that they want to search for, kind of like a question and answer type approach. And in order for us to really test this hypothesis, start building it, we need a lot of data. So to embark on this path, we got access to hundreds of thousands of case law documents. They range back many decades here. And this quantity of data actually allows us to generate a pretty accurate model. We used a doc-to-vec NLP technique to chunk every single case into its paragraphs, and then from the paragraphs, all of the sentences. Now, once we have all of these sentences split out, we vectorize each sentence along with its sentence identifier and pass it through a shallow neural network to train the weights for the end model that we'll be using for the predictions. So this is an unsupervised NLP technique. And just to give a sense of the scale here, the vector that it outputs is 300 dimensions, and we have dozens of millions of sentences within our model. So the visual on the right here it's just a visualization of what a vector space looks like. Again, ours is 300 dimensions, so this isn't quite accurate, but it gives a picture of sort of the size and the quantity of data points that we have. Now, once we have this whole vector space, what we do here is we pass through the semantic search, we vectorize that search, we basically put that into the vector space, and by using a nearest neighbor algorithm, just cosine similarity, we basically return the top 1,000 most relevant other sentences, and then get the distinct cases from there. So that was all very data science heavy, but we do have more traditional software engineers really take these models and start to productionize them. So in this particular case, we wanted to actually serve this semantic model through an API. So since we're in the MVP stage and in ML deployment, you can get some very sophisticated workflows. For us right now, because we're sort of in this very early stage, we just want to get something that works, but also is out there so we can get feedback from clients before we really start investing in really complicated pipelines. So just keep that in mind as we go through. This is going to be kind of slimmed down and simplified quite a bit. But we decided to wrap this semantic model in a fast API, which is a super fast Python web framework that leverages asynchronous Python. And we just wrap the model with this API. And once we have that, we can take a simple, post request with the query. In this example, it's a legal recourse for internet harassment. We take some pagination parameters. You can also pass some filters if you want to, restrict this to certain courts or certain dates. Now our model returns, in this case, 1,000 results with some pagination information and the matches, which are basically the case IDs as well as the confidence score along with them. So great, we have a way to do semantic searching, but there's more that we want to do, and that's just an API at this point. So searching is awesome, but once we have a given case, we want to be able to help legal researchers find a lot more information within that case. And there's a lot of really helpful information within particular cases. So for example, we know that within the case, there's other citations. So what other cases cite this, or what other cases does this case cite? There's subject matters, there's the names of judges, there's the names of the courts, there's subject matter and things like that. But also a little bit more abstractly than that, all cases follow a predefined pattern. They typically have 5 main elements, which are we call FILAC, and they're the facts, issues, law, the analysis, and then the conclusions. So that is really what researchers are looking for when they have their given case, and they're looking for other cases that are similar to it, are relevant to it in terms of the facts, it's in terms of the outcome that they're looking for. So they really want to find relevant documentation this way, or documents this way. So unfortunately, all of this data is purely unstructured text data, so we can't extract much information without using even more ML. And we built another model. This is actually a supervised model, but what it does, it extracts all these valuable entities. And we basically took a pre-trained model, did a lot of transfer learning here, fine-tuned our algorithm, and got identified pieces of the text that we care about. And I wanted to share that because it's these types of, these finding like existing tooling like that for early stage projects is so important, because generating a language model with this much data costs a lot of money, and it takes a really long time to train. So we're always trying to find ways to speed up the process. Now, the idea is, and what we've done actually is once we have all these entities extracted, we can really start graphing them in terms of, okay, the cases, the courts, the judges, those are all nodes within the graph. And then the relationships between them, like the case cites other case, this judge oversees these cases. Those are all the different edges of the graph. Basically, this just becomes a typical graphing problem at this point. And the nice thing about graphing problems is there's a lot of existing tools out there for interfacing with those. So we use Neo4j as our graph database. We uploaded all these different entities in there, and that lets us to query this graph structure to help surface a lot of really helpful insights about any of the cases. So an example of this flow really is, we have a GET request. Maybe you have a particular case. You want to get some citation stats for that. Now we have a different fast API web server here where it's just hitting Neo4j with different Cypher queries, and these Cypher queries return all the different cases or whatever you've specified in your query statement. And then our fast API server would then respond to that GET request with maybe the number of citations for this case, which cases in different levels of court cited this. And in that particular example, that's quite helpful because depending on which other cases cite this case and the levels of courts of that those cases come from, it really helps litigators and legal researchers understand if this case could be precedent or not. Like, how relevant is this, and how will the judges look at this in terms of my defense or my arguments? Last piece here. So we have two APIs here, and we want to tie this all together. And this is a bit more of the software approach here. We want to add a lot of value by integrating these different tools in a nice workflow tool. So again, a little bit of background. We've discovered that lawyers do a lot of their research on websites like Canly. That's where they can read through the existing cases. So we've built a Chrome extension. It's just an Angular application here. It's very similar to something like Evernote, where you can start your research sessions. It kind of tracks your activity here. We're using Firebase right now to store all of this data. You can add cases to your research. You can add notes and highlights and things like that. And that's to help you sort of do better research when you're online. But the really big value add is when we tie that into Word add-ins. So researchers, like majority of law firms all use Word when they're working on their cases. So we thought it'd be really awesome if we build this Word add-in. Our first version is built, but we've just got a designer to redo the wireframes and everything. So I do have some images of the wireframes, but essentially what we're doing here is we're bringing in all those cases that are in their sessions. You can see in the third slide here, we're using some of those citation metrics within a particular case. You can see how it's been cited over time. In this example, it's actually been trending down. Maybe this case isn't worth bringing in court. Maybe it's not really as relevant anymore. There's a headnote section in there. We'll have the different FILAC pieces really on hand in the document that the legal researchers are working in. And then as well as another searching functionality. So that's where they can do the semantic searching with the filters without ever having to leave Word. There's a lot of technical details that I could go into in all of this stuff, but I wanted to keep this kind of at a high level. This diagram kind of shows the different pieces that we have in place here. So we have two Angular applications, and then on our back end, we host everything in our Kubernetes cluster. We scale based on demand there using Kubernetes pods and all the benefits that you typically get with Kubernetes. And we have Neo4j for our graph database, and we also use Elastic because we do some things with our searching algorithm to also try and compare our results to keyword searches and try and surface the most relevant thing for the client. And then we release our software. We're a big GitOps firm, so every kind of commit to main goes to our staging servers. Every tag push to main goes to our live servers. We use Flux, which is a Kubernetes operator, to do all of that GitOps work for us. And we can deliver really, really quickly, and we just love it. So again, that was just one particular example of a project we're working on. Altamel is doing really cool things in the veterinary space. We have another product that's very shortly coming out. We work in the health industry and across a bunch of different industries here. So again, this legal product is just one of many. So if this interests you, working with data science, working with machine learning, please check out our website. We are hiring for the following positions, and thank you very much for your time.
Great stuff. Great, cool. Thank you so much, Taylor. Guys, if you have any questions, please drop them in the message and I'll be able to ask them. But Taylor, thank you so much. I think it was great. I think we always encourage our speakers, almost share the insight on what your tech stack looks like. So yeah, great presentation. Really appreciate it. And guys, as Taylor mentioned, AutoML are hiring. You can either access the jobs directly on AutoML's website or via the Expo section. So if you go to the Expo section, you should be able to click a link in there and it'll take you to their latest roles on TechTree. I don't know if we have any questions currently. Let's see. No, none yet. But guys, a bit like what Kola is doing in the conversation, you can carry on your chat with Taylor by tagging him, answering or asking any questions that you have. But yeah, Taylor, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the presentation, and you can head off the stage.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great. So next up, guys, we have our very final speaker. Joining me on stage now is Patrick Chechko, who is a lead front-end developer at Xeris. And I believe your talk is going to be talking about surfacing data from 1,000 meters underground. I'm curious to hear, actually entails. So looking forward to it. Patrick, over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Sam. Yeah. So hi, everyone. Very nice to meet you. My name is Patrick Chechko. I am a front-end lead developer and a practice lead at Xeris. And I'm going to walk you guys through some of the work that we've been doing with one of our clients around bringing up data from literally 1,000 meters underground. But first, just a little bit about me. Already mentioned I'm a front-end lead developer and modern web applications practice lead at Xeris. What that basically means is I'm supporting a lot of our clients in terms of different projects that we've been going on, and also building up best practices and architectures that we're serving to our clients. I'm also an AWS certified DevOps professional, and I'm really focusing on building out progressive web apps and micro front ends for a lot of our clients. A little bit about Xeris. Xeris is actually a remote first full stack solutions provider. We're based out of Calgary, Alberta, of course. It's a wonderful place to live. I'm a born and raised native here, so I will happily speak about how much I love living here every day. We're also an AWS Advanced Partner, Google Cloud Platform experts, and we are getting into the Azure space as well. And that little screenshot there is from one of our all hands from a few months ago. One thing that's really interesting is Xeris is scaling like crazy. I joined the company just over a year ago. I think it was number 13, and we're at just over 80 people right now. And so we're clearly doing things a little bit differently, building out solutions for our client. We're doing everything in the space from supporting a lot of our clients in their cloud migrations, DevOps work. A lot of our clients are also requiring custom applications built, whether that's web applications, full stack solutions. We're kind of in everything. We're working in a lot of different industries already, including retail, mining, agriculture. We're getting into a little bit of pharmaceuticals work, fintech, and a few other things there for sure. At Xeris, we like to say we solve for today and build for tomorrow. And so yeah, we've got a very diverse team. Not all of our team is based in Calgary, so we have people across Canada, some in the States now, some in South America as well. And so our team is kind of starting to spread out all over the world for sure. But we're really excited to bring on new people and grow our team. A day in the life kind of at Xeris, most people, typically it depends what the clients are working on, but I think it's probably a typical day for most devs doing, your typical Scrum in the mornings, any client calls that you may need to do, and then also working just on delivery. We are an agile shop, so we really push our clients to make sure that they're running their projects through usually 2-week sprints. We've got Scrum Masters to support that, and product owners and all that sort of stuff as well. So really, overall, I've been with Xeris for just over a year now, and I absolutely love it. It's a really great place to work. And yes, we are hiring for quite a few positions, I believe, right now. So feel free to check out the expo page, as Sam has said, or directly on our website. So kind of what challenges are you working on now? We can get into a bit of the meat of the talk. And so what I'm really going to be talking about is one of our clients came to us with the issue where, and this is where the title comes from, 1,000 meters underground. We're working with one of our clients in the mining industry. And so their mines are, they're mining product out of these mines underground. Some of these mines are as deep as 1,000 meters, and they can be as wide as a small city. So, end to end, if you were to take a little Jeep or a buggy through there, you could drive over 25 kilometers underground from end to end. So these are enormous spaces. And what they're really trying to do is to modernize their reporting of hazards, production information, and all that, because their current process at multiple mines that they own is paper and telephone. So it'll be paper logbooks where people are recording the information and then bringing them up at the end of a shift, whether that's 8 or 12 hours, or potentially the logbook gets left down there, it might not come up till later. And anything that needs to be dealt with immediately requires phone calls to the surface to mine engineers that are kind of operating and handling the whole situation. So they're really trying to modernize their operations. And they've started to deploy more technology in these mines. So that includes Wi-Fi in some scenarios, LTE in others. But the challenge that we have on this project is they're really looking to build out what's called a PWA. If you haven't worked with them before, it's like a typical web application you might build, but they're called progressive web applications, and they've been around for a few years, and they're trying to leverage more browser technologies that can include things like notifications, offline caching of images, so that your application can work even when you have spotty or no internet connectivity. And so that was one of the first requirements, is the client wanted to build a PWA and not a native application. Because they've built a lot of web applications before, they're more comfortable with that, and they didn't want to have to get a dedicated team to now manage native applications. The other big thing was, of course, we've talked about it, it needs to support offline in all scenarios. So, if that's no network connectivity, that's one option. In some cases, while they're doing the work, there is network connectivity where they're doing the work, but then the reporting happens elsewhere. We need to be able to store this data offline for some period of time, potentially 8 hours. Or if a device is left down there for longer periods, it could be 24, 48, 72 hours, potentially even longer. We need to handle spotty internet connectivity down there because it's huge. And you can probably imagine, just getting your Wi-Fi working in your house is a problem, let alone through tunnels that are just basically bored into rock. It can be pretty crazy down there to actually have a stable connection. And really prevent the losing of data, because some of the data that we're surfacing here is related to hazards and equipment, repairs that may need to happen. And so this information is critical to the operation and really cannot be lost. So we came up with our plan A, and some things didn't go so well. So a little bit of an architecture diagram here. We were looking for different solutions that we could actually build out. And so we basically had two applications to build here. We had our Mine app that's actually on the devices underground. And on the other side, we have our administrative application to manage all of this kind of information. Another requirement that we had is the client is using SQL-based servers. So the data has to end up there at the end of the day for other reporting applications to read it. So we're kind of constrained on that. And so we have done a lot of work with AWS on this project. And our initial kind of first crack at it, we decided to use a product called AWS AppSync and Amplify Data Store. So I'm actually really glad we had a talk about GraphQL a little bit earlier, because it's perfect. Because what Data Store and AppSync are basically doing is AppSync is a GraphQL service. So this essentially becomes our server to read and write data in GraphQL. That data ends up inside of Amazon DynamoDB. And Data Store actually exists on the client's device, on the iPads that they're using down there, and is this offline store. And it's we chose it initially because we were very comfortable with AWS products. And Data Store does a lot of nice work in terms of handling merge conflicts for you, supporting data to be stored offline. But then we actually ended up with the problem that because everything had to go back to a SQL server, we had to write kind of a complicated backend layer using a lot of different serverless technologies to kind of keep the data in sync between two databases effectively. And so we typically use REST on a lot of our projects. And so we had Graph over here, we had REST over here. And it quickly became an issue of the complexity of the project. We were writing a lot of code just to support this synchronization layer. And we realized that we'd likely, just due to some of the limitations that currently exist in the Data Store product, we likely wouldn't want to go to a production solution with this application. So we did kind of main problems really were that Amplify doesn't support schema changes once you kind of go live without some data loss happening, which in our case, in some cases, that's totally fine. The data is the same on the server and the client. And if we just erase the data on the client, then that's okay. But in our case, because we had no ability to lose that data, we could not allow that to happen. That was one of our big issues we weren't really able to work around. And this is something we brought up to the Amplify team and is hopefully going to get into their roadmap around supporting this. The other part of it is Xeris, we do a lot of DevOps work. And so really big on using infrastructure as code across all of our projects to make sure it's easy to scale, deploy our cloud architecture for our clients. It's just a lot easier to manage. Amplify is currently limited to a CLI. So there were some stability issues that we actually found when deploying our backend, and we ended up having to recreate it a few times. And then the third thing that I've already alluded to is that Amplify requires you to use DynamoDB currently because it's kind of a newer product. And we needed that data to go back to a SQL server. And so, we were ending up writing a lot of extra code for this. So we realized that let's start getting to plan B. And, when we finally cracked we thought this could be, I remember one of our team members saying, now we're cooking with gas, and found that really funny. So I thought I would add that to the slide here. But you'll notice this diagram compared to the one you just saw is significantly simpler. And reason being is that we realized what was really our limiting factor was that we were using data store on the front end. And so we went to look at other solutions of offline databases that could support our clients' needs in the React progressive web app that we were building. We discovered there's an open source project and product called RxDB, which is a really nice offline database that supports syncing with either, CouchDB on the back end or GraphQL. And so we realized if we had adopted RxDB inside of the Mime application itself, what we could do is we could go fully to GraphQL on the entire project, retain AppSync because it's actually been a very nice way to run our GraphQL through a managed service, connect to our serverless backend, Lambdas that we're writing, and we could go down to a single data source. So all of the data could be, read and write in and out through exactly the same process. And then our administration app, because we were using REST on that side of things, this is actually perfect. We just talked about Apollo client. We were able to adopt Apollo client in our React front end to actually talk to AppSync and perform our queries for us. And so we've just kind of done this massive transition to do this work on this application and are kind of rolling along forward. And so what did this really give us? The problems that we solved, we have gained, a good client-side database that works for us. It's a NoSQL reactive database. So in terms of React performance and rendering, we can, listen to changes in the data that are happening, make sure we have a very nice responsive UI for our workers that are actually going to be using this application in these mines. RxDB is actually kind of great because it supports different schemas and versioning that schema. So if we make changes as we roll this application forward and expand it, we can just tell it how to handle those kind of changes when it gets deployed, and we wouldn't have any data loss at that point. It also supports syncing with actually 2 different protocols. So if for some reason we didn't want to use GraphQL, there's an alternative product that we can run on an actual server called CouchDB, which is a document database that it can sync with. So that was really great on that side. We could get rid of Amplify in this case. For now, we've decided that data storage isn't the product for this use case at the time, just due to some of the stability issues we had with it and the lack of support for the schema changes. So we've made that switch. We've also been able to adopt infrastructure as code back to all the different parts of the product now. So all of our deployments are then properly handled through Circle CI, through AWS's Cloud Development Kit for this project, to actually get all of the infrastructure spun up and spun down as we need across different environments for testing as well. And you will, I'm sure you've noticed between the 2 different diagrams, there were a lot less things just on the screen to even worry about, which means we've actually been able to write, when we've done this rewrite, we've realized that we've taken out probably maybe at least over 1,000 lines of code on the backend side of things, just for that synchronization layer that we had to kind of have to go to a bunch of different places. And we're down to one solid data store. So we don't actually have to worry about, even just from a cost perspective for the client of running DynamoDB, their SQL databases as well. It kind of simplifies things a lot more in terms of the long-term viability of this project. The last thing was, how do we do this switch, kind of seamlessly pull the tablecloth out and not break everything that we already had in the existing place? And so we came up with this transition architecture, basically where we realized that, we're really comfortable with working with DynamoDB for now, but we realized to do the switch on our front ends, it's going to take our front end development team about 2 weeks to do this work. And we had estimated actually that the backend work, because we were unfamiliar with it, might take us up to 6 weeks. And the client is actually on quite a tight timeline on this project. And so they needed to make sure that they would give us 2 weeks to do the front end work, but we needed to continue on with new feature development as quickly as possible. And so our solution to this was one really interesting thing that AppSync has as a GraphQL layer, because really what's nice about Graph compared to REST at the end of the day is you can really have anything behind it. You could have it talking to an Elasticsearch cluster, a third-party API, a database behind the scenes, whatever you want it to be. AppSync actually supports directly creating what are called mapping templates that are written in language called VTL, where you can tell it from these schemas that we have, here's how it maps to our tables directly in DynamoDB for the queries and the mutations, so the reading and the actual writing of our data. And so our front-end team was able to write this themselves and basically build themselves a mock working, what we're calling the dev real AppSync for now, and continue on with new front-end feature development while the back-end team wrote the actual dedicated code that we needed to talk to RDS. And because we're using the same schema across both of these inside of our infrastructure, when this work is complete, when we're ready to go, all we have to do is switch the connections from this temporary AppSync to these Lambdas, and the schema will just continue to work. We'll be able to really pull out the tablecloth in one day, and the applications can continue to work because we're all operating on the same contract of data and how that schema looks inside a graph. So did we really meet the requirements? I didn't really talk about the actual building of the PWA, but yes, it is a React PWA that we're building out. We're also using Google Workbox to cache some of the files and assets there as well. We have been able to support offline in all scenarios. We found that RxDB is very resilient in terms of retries when connectivity is spotty or offline. So the data is always on the tablet itself, and if we come back online, it'll send up. Same thing with the spotty connectivity. If a time, like let's say a request, I'm sure we've all been there, just due to some reason has timed out due to a slow request or network connection, especially on our devices, or even just if a tablet is holding on to a bad Wi-Fi signal for way too long. I'm sure we've all had that happen before. RxDB can just keep that data and retry when it has a more stable connection, and really preventing the loss of data. So we know that data is always going to be on that tablet. It will never be cleared from the application itself. So as long as we can recover the physical tablet itself and it operates and can connect to the internet, which you might imagine in a mine, there's the potential for the tablet itself actually getting destroyed. But we can't really mitigate that one with software, unfortunately. So as long as we can grab that tablet, get it connected back to the internet, that data will sync up from the application back up. And yeah, that's all I really had to chat about today. If you'd like to find out more about Xeris, more about our company, our team, please, feel free to send me a message in the chat. You can also head to the expo area or Xeris.com and look at our open positions right now. Thank you very much.
Great. Amazing. Thank you so much, Patrick. Another great presentation to wrap up the event there. If anybody does have any questions for Patrick, drop them in the chat now. But as always, it's something that we encourage you to jump on a chat or direct message with Patrick if you do have any questions. But Patrick, thank you so much. That was a really good, clear overview of what you guys are doing. Also, nice to have that reflective moment at some of the solutions you are working on. So we really appreciate it, and I'm sure you've created some good interest there. Thank you so much. Yeah, like I said, guys, I would encourage you to message Patrick either directly here or maybe reach out on LinkedIn or via Xeris as well. Patrick, thank you so much. You can probably leave the stage.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So guys, that's really it from us today. Thank you so much to everybody that has attended. It's great to see the numbers stick around for the entire event. A big thank you to our partners, Global Talent Accelerator and Calgary Economic Development. You can reach out to them directly, especially if you are thinking about taking up some of those opportunities. If you don't live in Calgary, if you don't live in Canada, definitely get in touch with them. They're a great support network and can help facilitate that. Just before I go, just to touch on TechTree, this is just one of the events that we are running. We're running lots of different initiatives to really help support engineers throughout their career, or what we call climbing the tech tree. So do check us out as well. You can go to techtree.dev. We have lots of upcoming events, particularly some with some of the European VC companies and their portfolio companies. So guys, that's all of us now, and I think it's been a great event. Big thank you. Please feel free to stick around and carry on conversations in the chat function or visit the expo stage. That's it from me. Thank you, guys.